welcome back to another Carpet Chronicles.
Hi.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad, they don't salute you. I need a bag.
Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keela Trishawn and I make videos on lifestyle, insurance, and mental health. I also do vlogs, day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life of the toddler, all the things. So if that's something that interests you, definitely go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back and thank you for your support. Okay, so you guys have seen her before. This is my sister, Sion. I'm gonna let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell them a little bit about what you do. Reintroduce yourself,
What's up, y'all? My name is Sion Thais. I am a fashion designer seamstress. I am also a costume designer and an actress as well. So all things entertainment.
Yes, ma'am. So I kind of talked about this a little bit in my last video, but basically we were doing this series called Carpet Chronicles last year. We haven't really done one since November, and I wanted to bring this series back, kind of talking about like current events, things that are going on right now. And today we're going to be talking about quiet quitting.
Dum, 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 dum.
Yeah, so we're going to give y'all our thoughts on quiet quitting, what we think it is, and essentially what we think the future looks like. So if you are interested, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. All right, you guys, so before we get into the actual video, you know that I always have our charcuterie board for us because when we get into these conversations, we gotta have some snacks, okay? So all of the fruit and like chocolate, cheese, all that stuff is from Sprouts, except for the rich, we got that from Walmart. But yeah, so we have some red seedless grapes. We've got some organic strawberries. We have some mozzarella pearls, just to make it easy. And then we have some milk chocolate. The last time I got dark chocolate, everybody was mad at me. So I figured let me just go on ahead and just get milk chocolate. And then we have the Ritz, of course. And for the drink, because I need to go get little man in a little bit and she is going to be driving too. So we just decided to keep it simple. Sparkling water with a little bit of fruit to make it fancy, some ice. And these sparkling waters are from Whole Foods. Now that's all out the way. Let's get into the first question. So the first question is going to be, what does quiet quitting mean to you? So I'll go on ahead and just kick it off. But basically, keep it simple. Quiet quitting to me simply means that you're not quitting your job, but you're just quitting all of the extras that you were doing in addition to your actual job. So you're essentially setting boundaries. I did a reel about this like a week ago, and I was just basically saying like an example for me would be not going above and beyond at work, like actually taking a lunch break, like not working through my lunch, actually taking some time to pour into my cup, things like that. So still performing how you're supposed to perform at your job, doing your job, but having a set amount of hours that you do and not working outside of that and not taking on more than what you can comfortably take on.
Yes.
So what does quiet quitting mean to you?
Quiet quitting to me, I would say also absolutely setting boundaries. Because if you don't set boundaries, these companies will run you dry happily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, happily. So at the end of the day, if, of course, like Keela said, do your job, bring your best foot forward, all those good things. But at the end of the day, what's in your job description?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of course, if you're on the road to, you want to get promoted and stuff like that, there is little things that you can do that, it will show you that you're a good performer or something like that. But essentially, just don't let these companies run you dry, and because that can really take a toll on your mental health if you don't. So yeah, still do your job, but scale it back a bit for those that are trying to take advantage of you.
Amen. Okay, so now that we have established what we believe quiet quitting is, the next question is going to be, are you in agreement? Well, you being us, are we in agreement with the idea of quiet quitting? Why or why not? So since I started off the first one, I'm going to go ahead and let sis take this one.
So I am absolutely in agreement with quiet quitting because especially when I was working in the corporate world, I myself would overextend myself. I would do above and beyond because I had the knowledge to do it. But then at the end of the day, it was running me dry and I would find myself extremely drained and irritated, annoyed. And when I really looked back and evaluated it, it was like, well, it's because I'm going above and beyond and I'm doing these extra tasks that's outside of my job description, and my pay doesn't show for what I'm doing. So at the end of doing all that, it was like, you know what, let me just scale it back, and I'm just going to do what I know, what I see fit. Even in costume design and stuff like that, it's like there's always boundaries that you have to put forth. So I'm in absolute agreement with quiet quitting. How about you?
I'm talking food in my mouth, but so to piggyback off of that, I am in agreement with quiet quitting based on the definition that I have. So one, I don't think that this whole idea of quiet quitting is a new phenomenon. I think it's just given a name. It's something right now that's kind of like trending on TikTok and on Instagram. Like, you're just kind of seeing it everywhere. But people have been quiet quitting for a long time. I do think that with the pandemic, where we were all forced to kind of sit down and like rethink, people really did like reevaluate their lives. Like, do I want to continue going above and beyond for, this pay? Do I want to continue going above and beyond when it's clearly not appreciated? So for me, and if you guys watch my insurance videos, then you already know that I do some form of this. I have a tendency to kind of get lost in my work. Like, I want to do a good job, but I also don't want my work piling up. So I will sometimes work additional hours. I will work through lunches and things like that. But for me, it's just like consciously putting a stop to that and just saying, hey, I'm a human being too. So while, yes, your customers need to be taken care of, I also need to be taken care of. So why am I working through my lunch break? I'm not getting any special accolades for working through my lunch break and not eating. Nope. The only thing I'm getting is angry. I'm hangry, and I end up feeling crazy at the end of the day. Or I'm in a situation where I work so many hours that now I don't have time to do the things that make me feel good, like work out, cook a home-cooked meal, things like that. I'm very simple, all I need is a home-cooked meal, a little bike ride, maybe some strength training or whatever. But like, if I'm too tired to do that because I've given everything that I have to my job, then I'm doing myself a disservice. So as I've said before, I still think that like you should do the job that you are hired to do. You should still like try to perform to the best of your ability. If you work 8 to 5, kick ass from 8 to 5. But then once 5 o'clock comes, go on ahead and clock on out, and then go home or, do whatever you want to do after work. Now, I'm not saying not to do overtime or not to work over. There are going to be some days and some professions where it's going to require sometimes you work outside of those allotted hours. And if you want to, that's completely fine. The biggest thing, I think, like for the definition that she and I have, is not feeling obligated to do that and not doing it on such a regular basis that you experience burnout. So yes, in full agreement with quiet quitting. Oh, did you have something that you want to add?
I just wanted to piggyback
do you think
off of the last part that
do you think that, because I'm gonna go ahead and eat some fruit?
Go ahead. Yes. Feeling obligated. So another thing when it comes to quiet quitting and not quiet quitting is if you go above and beyond so much to the point where that's the norm, now in your employer's head, they're going to expect you to always go above and beyond and to do the extra work so that when it does come time for you to say, hey, enough is enough, then it's really going to be, oh, hey, what's going on? So you don't want to even get to that point where there has to be some type of, explanation as to why you aren't doing so much extra outside of your job description. So don't have them expecting you to be given the extras and running yourself dry.
Amen to that too. Okay, so the last question that we are going to tackle is, how do we think that this will impact employees and companies long term? So me personally, I think that there will be a better balance of work-life balance, essentially. So I think that people get away with what you allow them to get away with, right? And so if you continue to overexert yourself and, overextend yourself, do things that are like outside of your capacity, not leaving any time for you, then some companies will take advantage of that. And we've seen that in very recent years. Like, burnout is a real thing. We've heard those stories where, someone passes away on the job and then their job is placed online, within 24 hours because they just got to keep moving. And, while that person's family is, reeling from their loss, the company is just going and doing business as usual. And so I think that, while we need to get away from that, as employees, I hope and I feel that long term employers are going to start to catch on and realize, hey, if we just simply, encourage our employees to take time off, if we encourage our employees to, do a good job within the allotted amount of hours and, keep them staffed, things like that, people will be a lot more happy and people will be more productive. Now, I don't have any stats in front of me or anything like that, but I feel like I know I've read before that it's common for employees to go on vacation, like with employees that really use their PTO, employees that regularly like take time off, take care of themselves outside of work, don't do the most, do a good job but don't do the most, they're more productive and they're more happy overall. So even if the job is stressful, they don't feel extremely burned out because they've taken the time. What are you laughing at?
So good.
Over here trying to talk to y'all. But where was that? They don't feel burned out, so they're able to do a better job. It is much more difficult to do a good job and to even want to do a good job if you feel like your company's taking advantage of you, if you feel like you never get breaks, if you feel like you are always kind of running behind and you're spending all of your time at work. I'm on salary, for example, so I don't get paid overtime when I'm working these long hours. So there have been times where I'm feeling like a little bit bitter because it's like I'm doing all this extra work, but what do I have to show for it? And then even in some situations, it's like the work keeps coming. Like companies will give you the amount of work that 2 to 3 people would need to be able to tackle and just kind of expect you to be able to tackle it. So I'm hoping that long term, companies would make sure that their place of business is properly staffed. Now, I know sometimes they can't always control that because, turnover is turnover, and depending on what type of position it is, if it's a very stressful position, people are going to leave, people are going to come, whatever. But I think, I know in my case, a lot of times when people leave, we're expected to take on their workload. And it's like understanding that somebody has to do it, but also understanding that that's within reason. It has to be within reason. Like, I can't just consistently take on the work of 3 to 4 people and you think that I'm going to stay here long term, So I would like to think that there will eventually be a balance to where employees feel more appreciated at work and to where companies understand that if their employees feel appreciated, they won't have to deal with turnover and unproductive employees as much. So yeah, I'm hoping that this quiet quitting thing turns into some good long-term change.
Yes. As far as how I feel it'll affect companies and employees. So let's start with the companies. So I think with the companies, there's a few things that they can implement right away to be able to try to combat, I think there's a few things that companies can do immediately to combat people quitting and the high turnover rate. Number 1, pay them more. Up the pay. Number 2 is definitely show them some appreciation and also have a certain amount of expectations within reason, like she had mentioned before. So it's like if you're at a point where you're extremely short-staffed, there's only so much one individual can do. So if you have 100 employees, but 50 of them quit, and you expect the 50 of them to do the job of those other 50 that quit, you gotta find that balance in between and understand that they're still human. They're still gonna have to be able to complete their workload, and then if it's in reason for them to do a little bit extra, then do so, as opposed to trying to reprimand them or assuming that that employee is the issue because they have an issue of finding employees to fill those slots,
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are like the biggest 2 things that, they have to kind of take into account is, making sure the within reason, paying more because, people's tolerance for bullshit raises up a little bit higher as that dollar amount goes in. So if your paycheck shows, well, dang, I'm getting way more than what I was before, then, your threshold is a little bit higher. Just saying.
You might do a little more work because you're getting paid to do a little more work.
Exactly.
Like there's that thing of, I'm sorry, what are you doing now? Did I just cut you off?
You cut me off, but it's fine. Let me see. And then as far as employees, what I think in the future for them is just understanding that you are one person. And you can only do so much. So if you keep yourself at the forefront, it's not selfish to take care of yourself first before you go out and go the extra mile for these companies. If you're not feeling well, that's you who has to take care of it. That's you who has to go through these things. So if you need to take time off or a day off or go in a little bit later or leave a little bit earlier, don't be afraid to speak up, because you need that break and you need that rest in between. Because if you aren't 100%, how do you expect to give this job 100%? Mm-hmm. So absolutely put yourself first and really pay attention to your needs, and understand that that company isn't going to pay attention to your needs if you don't speak up and say something about it. Yes. And you have to be able to really evaluate yourself, make sure you're good, and make sure that you are, just really practicing your self-care over anything, and I think a lot of times too, when it comes to working for these companies, sometimes it's like you have these quotas to make, or, you're have a certain amount of workload and you're like, okay, I'm going to do as much as I can, do this time so I can be done by this time. But it's like, well, how is that actually affecting you? Are you taking proper breaks? Are you taking, getting the proper rest that you need, So ultimately, for employees, put yourself first, because you are most important. Take care of your self-care, take care of your physical and your mental health overall, okay? And, if sometimes, don't be afraid to speak up and say, hey, you asking me to do 3-4 jobs, but my paycheck is only showing one job. Sometimes, hey, you got to let them know, okay?
Sometimes you got to let them know, because they will, it's just kind of one of those things. It's all about leverage, I feel like. And it's like, if I have an employee that's going to do the work of 10 people on one salary, then why would I offer a raise? And this is just, business 101, right? Like, if you can get productivity out of someone and not have to pay as much, then you might go that route, Right. But then when you actually have an employee or employees, because I feel like it really takes everybody to speak up.
Employees, multiple, right?
It takes everybody to speak up, because if you have like that one person, and we've all seen that, where you have one person that speaks up and everybody else is like so scared to speak up, so then they look at the person that speaks up as, oh, you got the problem, well, you can leave. But if everybody is like, no, I'm putting me first, no, I don't want to do the work of 10 people for one salary, then it forces the company to make some long-term change. So
would that probably go under the lines of silent protesting or silent striking?
I mean, I guess kind of, because I think, like if everybody is kind of like setting those boundaries, then most companies aren't in a position where they're just gonna fire everybody at the same time, because then who's gonna do the work, So I don't know. It's weird, because I think that, like, while I do understand that, like, some companies, for example, what I do, it's just busy, it's just busy. And I knew that going in, and most people that work in insurance understand that it's just busy. But the problem comes in when you have the turnover and when you have these metrics and stuff like that, and managers don't take into account that, okay, you would normally only have, maybe 4 to 5 assignments this particular day. Now, for 3 weeks, consistently, you've had 15. You're only going to be able to sustain that for a little bit of time before you start burning out and then consider quitting. So I feel like there just needs to be better processes. It might be a situation where the managers need to get involved, where, the higher ups need to get involved. It's like, okay, all hands on deck, because we're struggling. My company does a good job of like bringing people in. I can definitely say that they do hire, but it's almost like you're just like, we're expected to kind of carry that load for as long as it takes. And again, I just feel like it's within reason. Like, I feel like I am a team player where, if I'm needed and, it's short term, like, I still need to be able to take care of myself at the end of the day, because there's only one me. I need to be able to take care of my family. I can't explain to my 3-year-old that, hey, we don't have enough employees, so I can't do this with you right now. He don't get that, and nor should he. So I hope this isn't all over the place, but then basically I think it's just, it's the employees understanding like when they need to jump in and help out, but then also the employers not taking advantage of said employees, and like kind of acknowledging like, hey, I see you guys working hard, whatever, here's this, not a pizza party, here's a raise. An actual raise, here is money. A promotion for doing whatever you're doing, whatever, I just think that there needs to be better leverage on both parts. So
absolutely.
Very long-winded answer.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. So that is all we have for you today. I really want to tackle this topic because it's funny. Like, as soon as I kind of like started seeing quiet quitting on social media, what is happening over here? I see out the corner of my eye. But as soon as I heard about the term quiet quitting and I kind of looked up like what the general meaning was, I told Sion, like, oh, we got to do a video on this. Like, this is the perfect time to bring Carpet Chronicles back, you know? It's just something, for me, it hits like very close to home. I know it hits you close to home because, I mean, obviously, like, you've been out the general workforce for a little bit, but I mean, she still does costume design, so she is, you know, actually like working and stuff. I think, like, for me, I have like your typical 9 to 5 though, so you know, whereas I don't skimp on my work. Like, I don't believe in that, like just simply not doing anything, or, you know, just not completing your assignments and stuff. Like, you still got hired to do something, so I do think that you should keep that up if you want to keep your job. So I definitely keep that up, and I perform. I just basically make sure that I use the hours that I'm working wisely. Like, if I'm working an 8 to 5 day or 9 to 5 day, whatever, I make sure that, you know, I'm working my ass off within those hours, so I can comfortably log out, you know, when it's time, and I can go and comfortably pour into myself, take care of my family, just basically like replenish for the next day. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Do you have anything else you wanna say?
Oh, I do. Ultimately, I think if you take anything from this video, especially on the employee standpoint, is put yourself first. Don't be afraid to ask for rest days or mental health days. Companies, take note of that too. Mental health days are just as important as sick days, or, you know, the two be intertwined. And also, it's like, if you have that 9 to 5 structure, or, you know, something along those lines, start winding down. Take that time to wind down 10-15 minutes before it's time to go, you know, so that you're not like, you know, rushing and scrambling to kind of get out of there. It's like, have your days set up to where, hey, at 4:45 or 4:40, you know, I know it's time to kind of start closing things up, winding down, and, you know, giving yourself stopping points so that, you know, you'll be able to pick up where you left off comfortably the next day, as opposed to scrambling. So yeah,
amen. Well, I definitely hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave your idea of quiet quitting in the comments. So tell us what you think, if you're in agreement or not in agreement. Keep it respectful. You know, I always say that. This is oh my God, and she will. This is a community of positivity, so we want to keep it positive and respectful. But definitely, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm. That'll also let me know that you are enjoying this series. Again, I know it's been a while, so you might need to see a couple videos, but that'll let me know that you're enjoying the series, so we can continue to make them for you. If you have not already subscribed, definitely go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything. And with that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.
See y'all. Bye.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad, they don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your back.